Scholars distinguish between lajda, temporary pleasure, and sa'ada, eternal beatitude. To these scholars, the heart is the seat of perception, and its health is the only path to true contentment. First, Imam al-Ghazali, The Alchemy of Happiness. Al-Ghazali's masterpiece, Kimiyai Sa'adat, The Alchemy of Happiness, posits that happiness is a transformation of the self, much like alchemy turns base metals into gold. Self-knowledge. He famously stated, "He who knows himself knows his Lord." Happiness begins by understanding one's own spiritual anatomy, the heart, the soul, and the ego nafs. The four pillars, Al-Ghazali argues that happiness is found through four types of knowledge: knowledge of self, knowledge of God, knowledge of this world as a temporary transit, knowledge of the next world, the ultimate destination. The diseases of the heart, happiness is blocked by pride, envy, and greed. Purifying the heart, tazkiyah, is the medicine required to feel the joy of divine proximity. Reference: Al-Ghazali, The Alchemy of Happiness, Kimiyai Sa'adat. Second, Imam Fakhr al-Din al-Razi, Intellectual Fulfillment. While Ghazali focused on the heart, al-Razi, a giant of theology and logic, focused on the intellect, aql. Certainty. Al-Razi argued that human distress comes from doubt and ignorance. Therefore, happiness is the perfection of the soul through the acquisition of certain knowledge. The pleasure of reason. He believed that the highest form of pleasure is the intellectual apprehension of God. Unlike physical pleasures which diminish with repetition, intellectual tasting of truth grows stronger over time. Reference: Al-Razi, Traité sur les normes divines, Lawami al-Bayinat, Comparison of Perspectives, Scholar Primary Source of Happiness Method, Al-Ghazali, Spiritual Discipline, Purifying the Heart from Ego, Nafs. Ibn Arabi, Spiritual Vision, Recognizing the Divine in All Existence. Al-Razi, Intellectual Certainty Knowledge and the Perfection of the Mind. Ibn al-Qayyim, Love and Devotion, Turning the Will Entirely Toward God. The Synthesis, What They Agree On. Despite their different approaches, these scholars share a core secret. Happiness is an internal state, not an external circumstance. Detachment, not having nothing, but letting nothing own you. Gratitude, recognizing that every moment is a gift, which shifts the brain from lack to abundance. Remembrance, keeping the mind anchored in the transcendent to avoid the anxiety of the ephemer. Let's look at Al-Ghazali's exercises for the heart and how they remarkably mirror and often predate what we now call positive psychology. While modern psychology often focuses on fixing a behavior, Al-Ghazali's approach was alchemical. He wanted to change the very substance of the soul. Al-Ghazali's practical exercises for happiness. Al-Ghazali believed the heart is like a mirror. If it's covered in rust, ego, anger, greed, it cannot reflect the light of happiness. He proposed a cycle of 4 specific spiritual exercises. Musharata, the morning contract. Before starting your day, sit in silence and make a contract with yourself. Define your boundaries. Today, I will not speak ill of anyone, and I will remain patient when triggered. This is essentially intentional living. Muraqaba, mindfulness, vigilance. This is the practice of being a watcher of your own thoughts throughout the day. Al-Ghazali taught that you must realize God is watching your heart, so you should watch your heart too. If a negative thought like envy arises, you acknowledge it and pivot before it becomes an action. Muhasaba, the nightly audit. Before sleep, Al-Ghazali insisted on a spiritual accounting. You review your day's ledger. The prophets, good deeds and moments of gratitude. The losses, moments of anger or selfishness. This isn't meant for self-flagellation, but for self-awareness. Mu'aqaba, self-correction. If you realize you failed in your morning contract, for example, you lost your temper, you fine yourself. This might be giving to charity, fasting, or performing an extra act of kindness. This creates a feedback loop that trains the brain to avoid toxic habits. Alignment with modern positive psychology. It's fascinating to see how these 12th century secrets align with 21st century science. Islamic scholarly concept, modern psychological parallel. Dhikr, constant remembrance flow state. Mindfulness, keeping the mind present. And anchored. Shukr, active gratitude, gratitude journaling, shown to increase dopamine and serotonin. Tawakkul, trust in the divine, external locus of control, stress reduction, letting go of what you can't control. Tazkiyah, purification, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, identifying and reframing negative thought patterns. The secret of the mean, al-wasat. Both al-Ghazali and al-Razi emphasize the Aristotelian mean. They argued that unhappiness comes from extremes. For example, cowardice, deficiency, courage, the mean, rashness, excess, stinginess, deficiency, generosity, the mean, prodigality, excess. Happiness, therefore, is the equilibrium of the soul's faculties.